Desires are a natural part of life. Putting aside the basic cravings for food, sleep, and excretion that help keep us alive, there's a whole range of secondary urges that are at least possible to endure. Sexual desire is often called the most strongest of these. As a fairly typical example of the male gender, I've got a fair amount of lust to go around myself. My previous employer actually went out of their way to provide us ways to scratch this particular itch. However, when it comes to the female sex drive, my knowledge is somewhat spotty. It's long been said that men and women experience the sexual urges that begin with puberty in very different ways, and I've interacted with a number of females who seem, at a glance, completely lacking in such desires. Sakaki Yumiko would be one such case in point. We've been living in one room for months now, spreading out our bedding only a few feet away from each other. But nonetheless, she's given every indication of viewing me as part of the furniture rather than a member of the opposite sex. It had been a long day on the job. After dinner, I went to bed a little earlier than usual. Yumiko didn't have anything in particular to do either, so she climbed in her futon at the same time, and soon fell quietly asleep. Can't fall asleep tonight for some reason. Although Yumiko is already breathing quietly a few feet away, it's proving very difficult to nod off myself. After a while, I close my eyes and just pretend to sleep. There wasn't really any thought behind that. It's pretty common for me to have trouble sleeping, and sometimes this helps. No reason to disturb Yumiko by tossing and turning around either. But the young woman in question abruptly sits up, pulls back her blanket, and walks quickly off toward the bathroom. Yumiko returns quietly to the bedroom only a minute or so later. I lie quietly, wide awake, waiting for the sound of her slipping back into her futon. Which doesn't seem to be happening. What's this? For some reason, Yumiko doesn't seem too eager to get back into bed. I open one eye just a crack. She's standing expressionless in between our futons, staring fixedly down at me.
寝てるわね。
After muttering a question to no one in particular, Yumiko quietly lowers herself to the ground next to me, her legs splaying out to one side. What's this girl thinking? I decide to keep breathing softly and allow her to think I'm unconscious. Hypothetically, if she viewed me as an enemy or bore some grudge, this could be interpreted as the preliminary stage of an assassination attempt. I'm confident that's not the case right now. Yumiko definitely trusts me. That said, we're talking about a woman who tried to slap me in the face the first day we met, and spent a good amount of time attempting to stab me. That's in the past now, but she's definitely prone to expressing herself in violent ways. Just to be on the safe side, I focus my attention on Yumiko without opening my eyes and wait alertly for her next movement. However, what comes next takes me by complete surprise. Yumiko swallows audibly, holds her breath, and something supple touches my lips. For a moment, I thought it might be her finger, but there's no way it would feel quite this soft. The instant I feel her breath on my nose, I realize that she's pressing her lips against mine. A sweet, distinctive scent tickles the inside of my nose. What the? Seriously? Ah, crap. Unfortunately, I can't keep my lips from twitching a little. Yumiko instantly jerks back.
動いた。寝てるのに。
Yumiko stares down at me in an expression of absolute shock. I don't know what she was thinking, but if she's frightened enough to cut things off here, that's fine by me. Hopefully I'll be able to fall asleep soon. What? Again? Once again, Yumiko presses her mouth against mine. And this time, she's a lot bolder about it. What is she thinking? Considering how things have been until now, this is just incomprehensible. I mean, if this were, say, Amane. Hehe, Look at Yuji sleeping all peacefully. Brace yourself. Big sis is gonna make sure you have some real nice dreams. Would probably be the thought process. But right now, we're talking about Yumiko. It's hard to imagine she's got that sort of sadistic streak. So why is she doing this? Maybe she's just curious? After months of living together intimately with a member of the opposite gender, Yumiko's developed an interest in sex. But the subject's too awkward to discuss, so she decides to try some furtive exploration. That's a fairly reasonable explanation. In fact, I almost hope it's true. Considering how badly Yumiko's unhappy past has weighed her down, seeing her act in such a human way would be something to celebrate. Might be a sign she's starting to break out of that defensive shell. Even as I'm pondering these matters, the girl continues to mash her mouth against mine in increasingly ardent fashion. Guess I've got no choice but to call things to a halt somehow. Yumiko presumably believes I'm asleep and oblivious, but keeping up that charade at this point might give her the wrong idea. Normally speaking, anyone except the deepest of deep sleepers is going to wake up when someone's kissing them this intensely. Feel bad about interrupting, but for her sake, and mine, the girl needs to learn that she's playing with fire. In order to defend my dignity, educate Yumiko, and prevent any unfortunate physical reactions, I reluctantly take action. Cut it out. Turning my face away from Yumiko, I forcibly tear our lips apart. Flinching with shock, Yumiko jumps away from me. Her eyes open to perfect circles as it finally dawns on her that she's taken things too far. Her mouth's trembling uncontrollably. It's a pretty pitiful spectacle. She looks down at me with an uncharacteristic expression of absolute cow terror, waiting to see how I'll respond, discovering her misdeed. Cut it out, Julia. Using every ounce of acting ability I possess, I continue mumbling in a sleep-addled voice. Seriously, Julia. Save it for when we're awake, alright? I repeat the name clearly, to make sure Yumiko catches it. And then, I very obviously fall back asleep, or pretend to. It was a pretty crappy performance by any standard, but...
バレなかったのかしら。そうよね。明らかに私だと思ってなかったみたいだし。
At the moment, it's much more convenient for Yumiko to believe that I was talking in my sleep, so she easily accepts the charade. I can hear her let out a short sigh of what sounds like profound relief. It's obvious how shaken up she was by the experience. I can't help but feeling a little guilty. But still, I had no idea Yumiko was interested in this sort of thing. Once again, I reflect on our sudden lapse of judgment. Her previous circumstances were abnormal enough that it wasn't always obvious, but Yumiko has desires like anyone else. Guess it might be time to think about her needs as well. I think this warrants a slight change in the status quo. Tomorrow, I'll find the right moment and bring up the matter openly. No more indirect nosing around. It's an extremely dangerous gamble, but I also stand to gain a clear answer to that unresolved question from a few days ago. Yumiko lets out a sigh overflowing with ennui, then burrows back under the covers of her bed. Sorry, Yumiko. And while I'm at it, sorry, Julia. With a few words of apology to my roommate and the long-suffering superior I just slandered unjustly, I return once again to my feigned sleep. The next morning, I wake up as if nothing happened and prepare breakfast for myself and Yumiko. I'm off from work today, so there's no real need to get up at the crack of dawn, but I decided it would be best to create an opportunity for the two of us to talk as quickly as possible.
Ohayo.
Hey. No doubt thanks to her emotionally draining night, Yumiko seems a little languid this morning. She totters off drowsily toward the washroom and proceeds to splash water on her face for a while. Seems perfectly at ease, but a hint of tension in the air. In other words, she's convinced herself I'm unaware of the incident last night. Awfully carefree, aren't we?
いただきます。
Let's eat. Just as always, Yumiko chews the salt-grilled salmon with small, quiet movements of her mouth. Judging from her expression, she's completely off guard. Not that she has any reason to expect what's coming. Should I really say it? I'm still more than a little hesitant. When a man and a woman live together without a clear defined relationship, it's not surprising that tensions of this nature might arise. It'd be short-sighted to pretend last night never happened. I want to clear the air, and Yumiko is probably feeling some subtle awkwardness and guilt herself. That said, the last thing I need is for this to turn into some overblown drama. Alright. I think this calls for a very natural, casual approach. I choose my words carefully, aiming to keep this a light breakfast table chat. Hey, Yumiko.
何？
As Yumiko casually sips her miso soup, I ask my question in the most nonchalant tone of voice I can muster. You kissed me in my sleep last night, didn't you? She promptly chokes in her soup and begins coughing violently. I was thinking this might go smoother if I brought it up casually during a meal, but it seems that didn't work out so well.
当たり前でしょ。それで何をその言いがかりバカにしてるの？
Yumiko flat out denies the truth in a desperate attempt to retroactively undo her folly. This isn't good. She seems to be getting somewhat emotional. But since I've broached the subject, I can't allow her to squirm out of the discussion. Stealing my nerves, I push bluntly forward. Sorry, but I was awake the whole time.
何よ？してないって言ってるでしょ。
A little after 11 last night, wasn't it? Lasted about 10 or 15 minutes after you came back from the bathroom.
だからその。
Yumiko quickly falters under my skeptical gaze.
したわよ。
And in a deeply mortified voice, she finally owns up to her misdeed.
したわよ、確かに。でもそれはあなたが呼吸してないような気がして。それで心配して確認のために顔を近づけたら
Completely flustered, she begins babbling incoherently. I'm tempted to ask her if her conception of CPR is limited to repeatedly kissing someone, but this probably isn't the time to be mocking the girl. I stare Yumiko straight in the eyes, then gravely lower my head in apology. My apologies for not realizing sooner. Yumiko, it's not an excuse, but I had genuinely no idea you were so sexually frustrated. I bought into the stereotypes about women having lower libidos, convinced myself Amani was just an exception to the rule.
ちょっと待ってよ、待って。
Waving her arms about to signal a halt, Yumiko interrupts in an agitated tone of voice.
あなたひょっとして性欲に負けて私がああいうことをしたと思ってるの？
Well, from an objective point of view, I think it's the most plausible explanation. When someone who hasn't expressed any clear feelings from you suddenly makes that aggressive a move, I'm not sure what other conclusion there is to draw. But as I'm reviewing my reasoning, Yumiko's expression goes increasingly sour.
やっぱり全然気づいてなかったのね。
With a heavy sigh, she moves her shoulders up and down in an exaggerated shrug. In the next moment, Yumiko's body begins to tremble with something that seems suspiciously akin to rage. Hey, follow-up question. Was I just incredibly rude to you, by any chance?
ええ、そうよ。もう持っていないけど、久しぶりにあれを出したいと思ったぐらいにね。
Come to think of it, we left that box cutter of hers behind when we ran away. Since Yumiko removed that thing, it's clear that she's abnormally furious. And it's equally obvious where that anger is coming from. My cluelessness drove her straight into a corner. I stepped toward Yumiko and wrapped my arms around her without a word. Sorry. My bad. Seriously. As I embrace her and apologize, she finally begins to settle down a little. I didn't bring this up because I wanted to mock you for having a healthy interest in the opposite sex, Yumiko.
そうなの
I wasn't sure if you had feelings for me, so I honestly didn't know what to do, until now.
それじゃ
Yeah. I finally got my answer. Yumiko's been hiding romantic feelings for me. I just wasn't observant enough to see them. My well-intentioned watch and wait policy ended up driving her to this humiliating moment. I've disgraced myself as a man. Since I finally understand, there's no reason for me to keep hesitating. Pulling slightly away from Yumiko's body, I stare straight down into her face. Yumiko, I love you. I want to make you happy. I also want to sleep with you. Sound like a plan? Yumiko closes her eyes and let her shoulders slump limply downward. She heaves a long, long sigh, reminiscent of a balloon slowly deflating. Ow. And proceeds to slap me lightly on the cheek.
もう何よ勝手なんだから
She's not crying or scowling, but there's a distinctly disgruntled expression on her face.
いきなり失礼なこと言い出したかと思ったら一転して今度は好きだ抱きたいだなんて無茶すぎるって自分でも思わないの
My apologies.
本当にずるいのね私が動くまでいつだってずっと待ってるばかりなんだから
My sincerest apologies.
だからもう
At last, a mildly exasperated smile spreads across Yumiko's face.
私はもうあなたしかいないの
And she reaches out once more, this time to offer me her hand. I take it, and gently pull her body forward to lean against mine.
うんいいわよどうしたらいいのかわからないけど風見くんになら
Right. I feel the weight once again. Compared to when she's standing normally, holding Yumiko's slender body in my arms like this makes her seem extremely small. But inside that body, she's carrying all the loneliness of her past and uncertainty of her present. The more I think about it, the more absurdly heavy she feels. I'm ready for this. I wouldn't have been living with her in the first place if I wasn't. Still, I'm crossing a very serious line here, all the more so given her situation. Okay then, relax, and leave everything to me. Yumiko answers my words with a small nod. Her voice conveys simple, absolute trust. That, too, adds to the weight on my shoulders. It's been a few hours since then. Having dressed herself and brushed her hair, Yumiko is currently wandering restlessly around the room, groaning at no one in particular. The girl's usual composure seems to have deserted herself entirely. Look, can you try to calm down already? This isn't like you, Yumiko.
いいわよもう私らしくないところなんて他にもたくさん見せたんだし今さら何言ってるのよ私は
Having dug her own grave and then buried herself in it, Yumiko laments loudly. It's a pretty charming spectacle, but at this rate, I don't know if she'll ever get a hold of herself. Alright, maybe this'll help you settle down a little. Pulling Yumiko into my arms, I brush her hair back and press my lips against hers. When I release my hold on her face, the girl blinks up at me for a moment, then abruptly grows bashful. Blushing from ear to ear, Yumiko tries to hide her face behind one hand. I'm not exactly the world's foremost connoisseur of cuteness, but this transformation is just too extreme. The sugar rush leaves me a little dizzy.
本当にあなたと
Yumiko mumbles the words to herself, as if she still isn't quite convinced they're true. I know, right? Pretty unbelievable, considering where we started out. At first, Our communication was limited to slaps to the face and slashes with a blade. And before you know it, we've ended up here. I guess you could just shrug your shoulders and call it fate. Chance and coincidence did play a large part. Even so, I can't help feeling this all happened for a reason. Hey, Yumiko.
何風見くん。
I hug Yumiko again, much more tightly than before, and stroke one hand slowly down through her long hair. Let me say it again. I'm going to keep you safe, no matter what. That's a promise.
風見くん。
I'll be where you are, Yumiko. I won't leave you alone. Sakaki Yumiko was always on her own, always isolated. Gaining something new after all that time alone was bewildering. When the fog cleared and she realized what she wanted, it almost frightened her. She didn't know what to do. And that's why I need to make this crystal clear. I'm right here. Not just to protect you, but to be with you. Have anything to say to that? A slightly apologetic expression flits across Yumiko's face. But as she looks up at me, it fades into a small smile.
ありがとう。
That's what I was hoping for. There is no need for apologies anymore. The only thing Yumiko and I need to give each other now is gratitude. Alright then. Now that we have that settled, let's fix that Kazami-kun of yours immediately. You heard me. It'd be pretty damn weird to keep calling me by my last name at this point, don't you think?
そんな急に言われても心の準備が。
And how long is that going to take?
それはその。
Yumiko looks up at me with a hint of reproach in her eyes. But after a moment, she breathes in deeply, as if to steel herself.
わかったわ。今から帰るから。
Okay then, let's hear it. Once again, the girl takes a deep breath. This time, she begins mumbling softly to herself like a nervous middle school student preparing to cite pi from memory. And then, in a barely audible murmur,
ゆうじ。
the instant the word squeaks out of Yumiko's mouth, her face appears to burst into flame.
呼び慣れていないからやっぱり恥ずかしいわよ。
This contrast is really something. I think I'm embarrassed by proxy. In any case, all my points of concern regarding our relationship have now been decisively resolved. We're still fugitives with an uncertain future, but somehow, I think I've gained a little peace of mind.
あ、
What's wrong? All of a sudden, Yumiko seems to remember something. Her expression grows oddly serious.
あなた昨日の夜ずっと起きてたって言ってたわよね。
That's right. What? Is there something else? Before I can even finish the sentence, Yumiko's thin fingers dig into my arm in a vicious pinch. Ow!
春寺さんと昔何があったのか聞かせてもらえるかしら。
Say what?
そうでないとあんなことはとっさには言えないはずよ。
Yumiko's unexpected night raid helped us understand each other's feelings. It was a truly fortunate event, in that respect. But from that day on, I found myself sitting on my heels in penance every afternoon, and during interrogations into my previous romantic career.
以上が各更新所探偵事務所よりの報告となります。調査の範囲を関東一円から東海、近畿地方にまで広げていますが、依然として手がかりになるような報告はありません。現在、さらに手を尽くすように各所連絡は取ってあります。他に何かありますでしょうか？
首にしろ。
は？
何ヶ月もかけて手がかり一つつかめないような役立たずなどいらん。首だ。 いくら金をかけても構わんから、今度はちゃんとあの二人を見つけられるような腕利きに頼め。わかったな。
はい、失礼します。
もう半年か。聞くまでもないが、そちらの調査で何か進展はあったのかね。
いいえ、申し訳ありません。手がかりは何も。
自分たちの飼い犬にもかかわらず情けないことだ。こうもあっさりと逃げられては、裏であなた方が手を引いているのかと疑いたくもなる。
社長、それについてはもう。
信用できる内部調査の結果、ハルデラさんへの疑いはなくなったそうだからな。こちらと。他に何かあるかね。
すでに風見雄二、由美子さんの両名とも所持していた携帯電話は破棄されています。今後仮に向こうから連絡を取ろうとした場合、公衆電話からかけることが考えられます。着信があった場合は。
大阪支社からか。失礼する。今取り込み中だ。後で。なんだと？ダメでしたで済む問題か。先方の自宅の前で土下座して粘れ。意地でも確約を得てこい。あのタヌキをこちらに引き込んでおかなければ今の体制ごと崩されるぞ。頭と金は使え。何のために財布を渡していると思っている。もっと動け。
着信にはご注意ください。では私はこれで失礼します。
何か言いたそうだな。
いえ、何も。
どうも最近総会を前にして私の周りに不穏な動きがあってね。裏で何か動いても無駄だよ。こちらだってバカじゃない。変な動きをすればすぐにわかる。
何のことでしょうか。
白を切るつもりならそれでいい。ただあまり目立つようだとこちらからも動くということだけは覚えておいた方がいい。
失礼します。
誰にも奪われるわけにはいかないのだよ。誰にもな。
Not sure how many times I need to say this before you get the message. I'm not planning to give myself up.
そう、残念ね。
Once again, JB and I engage in our regularly scheduled, rigidly formulaic conversation. She has classical playing in the background today. The volume just seems slightly louder than usual. There's no immediate danger approaching, but a good deal of caution is warranted. A comparatively calm state of affairs. Of course, it's never wise to feel completely at ease when you're on the run. But the lack of urgent problems does soften the psychological pressure a bit.
最近はどうなの？ちゃんと食事はしているの？生活は荒れていない？
Yeah, no problems worth mentioning. Sounds like a conversation between a college student in the big city and his anxious helicopter mom. Then again, I guess I am something of a pseudo-son to JB, so there's nothing inherently strange about her worrying about me. It's just more than a little comical under the circumstances. Of course, it's also a necessary part of our carefully choreographed give and take of information, but still. That reminds me, I've got something to report, JB.
報告？何かしら？
I bought another cactus for my room over here, but a worm got it right away. Got a little worried there for a while. Seems like they're actually capable of coexisting, though. Something wrong?
そう。それは良かったわね。自然なことだと思うわ。
Yeah. I borrowed JB's metaphor to inform her of recent developments. Not really the sort of thing I need to go out of my way to report, but there's no reason to hide it either. Even now, the cactus in question is no doubt waiting eagerly for the return of its worm.
ユージ、切る前に一つだけいいかしら。
Yeah? What?
共存はいいことだけど、トゲには気をつけることね。 サボテンに刺す意思はなくても、もともといびつなものだということを忘れないで。
That's some way to talk about the poor plant.
経緯を知っているからこそよ。まさか忘れていないとは思うけど、あなたは逃亡者なんだから、それを夢忘れないように。それじゃ。
I'm aware. Thanks. The two of us have connected in the midst of a strange and unstable situation. It's going to be very difficult to maintain this peaceful balance for much longer. But for the moment, for Yumiko's sake and mine, I don't want her to be too conscious of that. Change is constant and ever-present. Time moves us forward whether we like it or not. We bump into other people, unpredictable external factors that knock us off course. Our thoughts, our environment, our place in the world, even our ideology, everything shifts. And even in the world that's defined by change, human relationships are about as astonishingly volatile as it gets. We go from life to death, family to strangers, strangers to family. We meet and part, make allies and enemies, crown winners and mark losers. Some gain independence, while others sink into servitude. Some submit, and some rebel. Goodwill can change to hatred in the blink of an eye, and hatred to goodwill. Sometimes people fight their best friends to the death in the struggle for power. Sometimes people sell their family for trivial sums of money. Sometimes the subordinate who'd been treated like a dog launches a coup d'etat. Sometimes the dictator finds himself groveling like a worm before his old throne. I've seen it all. In the scope of things, the case of Kazami Yuji and Sakaki Yumiko isn't nothing out of the ordinary. But the last few months have certainly been full of changes. We started off as strangers, then mortal enemies, wary dorm mates, the daughter of a client and the representative of a certain company, a guard and his principal, co-conspirators and fugitives, and now, a man and a woman. It was a pretty tangled road that brought us here. As for where it'll lead us next, who the hell knows? Certain of the two people traveling it together. Hey everyone, J Square John Jeremy here. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to click on subscribe and the bell icon to ensure you're kept up to date on the channel. Until next time, so long and take care.